There are moments in life when the familiar seams of reality loosen just enough for something luminous to leak through, catching the edges of our awareness in ways we struggle to put into language. Most people dismiss these moments as daydreams, episodes of fatigue, or tricks of the mind, but quieter intuition tells you that something else is unfolding, something not entirely contained within the usual borders of the waking world. The theme of "you're not waking up, you're being contacted" emerges from this threshold space where the ordinary dissolves and the invisible reaches in, not violently, but with a kind of deliberate tenderness. It suggests that what you interpret as awakening may not be an internal shift alone. It may also be an external signal, a soft knock from a realm that has been waiting patiently for you to notice its fingerprints on your life. To speak of being contacted is to invite a wider understanding of consciousness itself. It encourages us to imagine that the mind is not a sealed chamber but a permeable field, touched by patterns, intelligence, or presence that extend beyond the narrow framing we inherited. For countless generations, human beings have reported sudden stirrings of insight, unexpected waves of clarity, and uncanny coincidences that feel like messages disguised as accidents. Yet in modern life, where noise replaces wonder and efficiency buries depth, these subtle intrusions often go unnoticed. When they do break through, they are quickly rationalized away, as if any interpretation beyond the strictly material would threaten the stability of our worldview. But the message of this exploration asks us to pause and reconsider. What if those moments of heightened awareness are not just personal breakthroughs, but invitations? The invitation does not demand belief in anything supernatural or fantastical. In fact, it emerges naturally if we examine the architecture of our inner experience. We could say that consciousness behaves like a shoreline, endlessly kissed by waves from a deeper ocean we rarely see. Every so often, a stronger wave reaches farther than the others, carrying with a piece of that unseen world, a shimmering fragment of knowledge or intuition. And when that happens, people say they are having an awakening. But perhaps that language is incomplete. Perhaps they are not simply waking up from within, but being touched from without, stirred by something that wants to be recognized. This idea becomes even more compelling when we consider how awakening typically unfolds. People seldom wake up gently. They are jolted. Something disrupts the habitual rhythm of their thoughts. A dream feels too vivid to ignore. A memory resurfaces at an odd time. A stranger says something eerily specific, or a coincidence emerges with such precision it borders on impossible. These disruptions, small or large, behave like coded signals. They function as thresholds, urging you to look again at your surroundings, to observe your own thoughts with fresh eyes, to consider that what you call your life may be entangled with a wider web of meaning. Waking up often feels like breaking through layers of sleep, but the sensation of insight descending upon you, unbidden, unexpected, feels unmistakably like contact. The phrase, "you're being contacted," also carries a transformative weight because it reframes the individual from passive witness to active participant. Instead of imagining yourself climbing toward enlightenment as though scaling a lonely mountain, you begin to sense that enlightenment is approaching you as well. It is a two-way movement, a meeting point. Something beyond you recognizes that you are ready, or at least ready enough, to receive a transmission. And this transmission may not come in words or visions, but through a shift in the way your reality organizes itself, through a sudden fluidity between past and present, through a heightened sensitivity to patterns that once blended into the background. You begin to sense that life is not a series of random encounters, but a kind of choreography meticulously arranged to awaken you at just the right moment. But why now? Why is the idea of contact emerging with such intensity in the modern psyche? Perhaps because we have reached a saturation point with ordinary forms of knowing. Rationality, once our greatest ally, has become a narrow gate that filters out more than it reveals. We have become experts in mechanisms, but novices in meaning. When the material world fails to answer the deeper hunger inside us, consciousness looks elsewhere, tuning its frequencies towards subtler forms of information. And when that tuning becomes clear enough, the experience feels like waking up, yet not from sleep, but from a long misunderstanding of what reality is capable of. To be contacted does not imply interference, but resonance. Imagine striking a tuning fork and holding it near another tuning fork tuned to the same frequency. The untouched fork will begin to hum on its own, Its vibration is not self-generated but evoked. In the same way, certain insights, intuitions, or awakening moments might not originate solely from the self, but be stirred into motion by a larger intelligence or pattern or field that recognizes a harmonic match in you. What awakens is not simply your awareness, but the connection between your awareness and something vast, ancient, and intimately familiar. As you start to see your awakening as a form of contact, everything shifts. The randomness of life loosens its grip. Meaning begins to condense like mist taking shape. You realize you're a part of an ongoing dialogue with reality itself, even if you seldom noticed it before. And that dialogue has been attempting to reach you through symbols, emotions, encounters, synchronicities, and whispers of clarity that drift through your thoughts when you least expect them. This introduction serves as the first doorway into that dialogue. It extends an invitation to read not just with the mind, but with a deeper instrument of perception that senses truth beneath metaphor, that feels the weight of meaning even in silence. As you continue this exploration, you may discover that the phrase, "you're not waking up, you're being contacted," is not a claim but a recognition. It is the acknowledgement that something has already begun, something that has been unfolding quietly behind the curtain of your daily awareness, waiting for the moment when you would be willing to look directly at it, to understand the deeper structure behind the idea that you're not waking up, you're being contacted. One must explore the hidden architecture of awareness itself. Awakening is often portrayed as a journey inward, a solitary expedition into one's own depths. Yet there's a broader interpretation that reframes awakening as a dialogue rather than a monologue. This shift from internal ascent to reciprocal encounter forms the heart of the concept, as if consciousness is not merely discovering itself, but responding to summons from a realm it once belonged to. The themes that rise from this notion are threads interwoven across psychology, metaphysics, myth, and the subtle science of meaning. What stands out first is the theme of reception. Many people imagine awakening as an act of willpower, as though clarity blooms only when one strives hard enough or disciplines a mind with enough rigor. But the experience of being contacted implies a different mechanism. It suggests that insight arrives in waves that originate beyond the conscious mind, like radio transmissions from a distant tower. The receptive mind becomes the antenna, tuning itself to frequencies that were always present but previously unnoticed. In this interpretation, awakening happens not because you reach toward something higher, but because something higher reached toward you. You are not the architect of the moment. You are the instrument being played. This act of reception becomes even more profound when we consider the theme of recognition. Contact does not feel foreign. It feels strangely intimate, as if you are being reminded of something you once knew, but forgot through the long immersion in physical existence. There is a resonance, a familiarity, the sense that the message or presence that touches your awareness is something your deeper self has been expecting. The concept of waking up as contact implies that your consciousness contains a dormant memory of its origin, and that contact reawakens as memory, like a name whispered to a sleeping traveler. In such moments, people often say, "It feels like I've known this forever," or "This feels true in a way I can't explain." These expressions are signs of recognition, not novelty. Another essential theme is the interplay between illusion and clarity. When people describe a sudden expansion of consciousness, they often say it feels like a veil has been lifted. The veil suggests that ordinary perception is filtered, shaped by conditioning, habit, and cultural narratives that limit what we believe is possible. Contact pierces a veil not by force, but by making familiar appear insufficient. It introduces a crack in the narrative of normalcy, allowing light to enter. This is why awakening moments often appear during crises, transitions, or emotional upheaval, times when the mind's usual defenses weaken, allowing deeper truths to surface. The dissolution of illusion is not destructive. It is revelatory. The truth was always present, yet obscured. Contact removes the obscuring layer. A further theme flows from the recognition of patterns. People who experience contact often report a heightened sensitivity to synchronicity, as though events align with impossible precision. A phrase overheard at the exact moment a question forms in the mind, a symbol appearing repeatedly with uncanny timing, a decision influenced by a dream that later proves extraordinarily accurate. These are more than coincidences. They behave like markers or signposts, guiding one toward a path that feels prewritten yet simultaneously emergent. Synchronicity becomes the language through which contact speaks. It bypasses rationality, appealing directly to a deeper intelligence within the observer, creating a kind of symbolic dialogue between the person and the world. This pattern language reveals yet another theme: interconnectedness. The experience of being contacted dissolves the illusion of separateness, not in an abstract philosophical sense, but in an immediate experiential way. You begin to feel that events respond to you, that the universe is not a cold mechanism, but a sensitive field attuned to your state of being. Your thoughts, emotions, and intentions seem to ripple outward, influencing circumstances in subtle ways. This interconnectedness can be exhilarating or unsettling, depending on one's readiness for it. But at its core, it affirms that consciousness is not confined to brain or the body. It is part of a continuum, a shared field where communication can occur without sound or movement. Building on interconnectedness is a theme of initiation. Contact can feel like a threshold experience, marking the beginning of a new phase of life. It is not a random happening, but the opening of a door that had been waiting for you to approach. Initiation does not announce itself with formality. It arrives quietly, sometimes in the most ordinary moments, but it leaves a lasting imprint. People often describe feeling called, not in a religious sense, but in a deeply personal one, as if their life has shifted onto a track aligned with their true nature. This calling is not imposed from outside. It is evoked from within by the contact itself, like a flame ignited by a spark. Another theme woven through this exploration is the notion of dual perception. Contact creates a bifocal consciousness, allowing you to see the world as it is, and as it could be simultaneously. You become aware of the surface and the depth at once, the physical and the symbolic, the literal and the metaphorical. This dual perception does not make the world less real. It makes it more layered, multidimensional. You begin to understand that reality is not a single narrative, but a tapestry of intertwined stories, each revealing a different facet of truth. Contact opens the inner eye that perceives these layers. At the foundation of all these themes lies the idea of dialogue. Awakening as contact transforms the relationship between the self and the world from one of isolation to one of conversation. You are no longer merely observing reality. You are speaking with it, and it is speaking back. This dialogue may not use words, yet it conveys meaning with impeccable clarity. It may not use logic, yet it produces understanding. It may not use form, yet it shapes your life with precision. Once this dialogue begins, it is difficult to return to the older view of reality as static and impersonal. You recognize that you are participating in something alive. These themes together form a woven fabric of meaning that supports the assertion that you are not simply waking up. You are being contacted. They reveal that awakening is not a solitary ascent, but an encounter with a deeper intelligence. Whether one interprets that intelligence as a higher self, the unconscious, the universe, or something even more mysterious. It is an invitation to explore the boundaries of what you believe to be real and step into a relationship with the unknown that feels strangely like coming home. To truly sense the meaning behind the idea that you're not waking up, you're being contacted, it is helpful to step into the realm of symbolic narratives, stories that speak not to the literal mind, but to the inner architecture of recognition. These are not tales to be dissected, but mirrors placed before the deeper self. Their purpose is not to explain, but to evoke, to stir something dormant, to remind the reader truths that lie beyond direct articulation. Within these narratives, the concept of contact becomes easier to perceive, as though the imagination provides a clearer window than analysis ever could. Imagine a traveler walking through a dense forest near the edge of dusk. The world is quiet, save for the soft murmur of leaves drifting overhead. This traveler believes they are alone, navigating purely by instinct, guided only by the fading traces of sunlight on the path. Yet with every step, something curious happens. The forest seems to respond. A gust of wind rises exactly when doubt creeps into the traveler's thoughts, as if encouraging them onward. A beam of light breaks through the canopy at the precise moment they fear losing their way. Even the rustling of branches forms patterns that don't feel entirely random. At first, the traveler dismisses these experiences as coincidences, tricks of the mind produced by solitude. But eventually, the pattern becomes too precise to ignore. It dawns upon them that they are not simply walking, they are being guided. They are not merely perceiving the forest is perceiving them. This symbolic journey reflects the nature of contact. The traveler believes they are awakening to a deeper sense of direction, yet in truth, they are responding to subtle signals woven into the environment itself. The forest becomes a metaphor for reality, alive, aware, communicative. The traveler awakens not because they force themselves to become more conscious, but because something in the world begins to move in harmony with their inner readiness. The path reveals itself because the traveler has reached a point where seeing becomes possible. In this story, awakening is a recognition of a dialogue already in motion. Another symbolic narrative emerges through the image of a distant lighthouse standing on the edge of a storm-tossed sea. A sailor, long accustomed to the chaos of the waves, learns to navigate by instinct rather than reliance on the stars or maps. For years, the sea appears vast and indifferent, a place where survival depends solely on personal resilience. But during a particularly tumultuous night, when the sky churns with thunder and the boundary between ocean and sky dissolves, the sailor sees something unexpected, a faint, steady beam cutting through the darkness. It is not a hallucination. It is not lightning. It is a signal, subtle yet unmistakably deliberate. The sailor, filled with a mix of fear and wonder, adjusts course. Each time the ship aligns with the beam, the storm seems to ease slightly, and the waves shift in rhythm with the vessel. Eventually, the sailor reaches a lighthouse, only to find that no one is there, no keeper tending the flame. The light burns on its own, as if sustained by some invisible intelligence. In this symbolic tale, the lighthouse represents the unseen source of contact. It shines not because the sailor demanded guidance, but because guidance was extended the moment the sailor was ready to perceive it. The storm, the chaos of ordinary existence, does not end because the sailor fights it. It softens because the sailor aligns with something greater. Narratives like these echo through mythologies across cultures. In many ancient stories, awakening begins not with personal effort, but with a summons, a dream visitation, a mysterious voice, a symbolic animal crossing one's path. The individual believes they have stumbled into a new phase of understanding, yet often the story reveals that a higher force has initiated the process. Whether interpreted spiritually, psychologically, or symbolically, the message is the same. Awakening is relational. It involves a convergence of inner readiness with outer resonance. There is also the image of a sleeping giant beneath a mountain. For centuries, villagers live ordinary lives on the land above, unaware of the immense presence slumbering within the earth. They attribute small tremors in warm soil patches to natural causes. But one day, the tremors intensify, not violently, but rhythmically, as though following a deliberate cadence. The villagers begin to sense that something beneath them is stirring, not in anger, but in recognition. And then, quietly, the giant awakens. Its opening eyes are not a threat, but a revelation. The villagers have always lived in communication with something powerful and ancient, even if they never noticed. The giant symbolizes the deeper layers of consciousness that move beneath the surface of everyday life. When these layers stir, we interpret the tremors as signs of awakening. Yet the truth is subtler. The deeper self is calling upward, contacting the surface mind in rhythmic pulses, asking it to pay attention. Another powerful symbol is a mirror that reflects not one face, but two. Imagine standing before such a mirror, expecting to see a familiar reflection, only to find another presence looking back, a presence that resembles you, but with eyes that seem to understand far more than you consciously know. This presence does not intrude. It waits. Its gaze is patient, inviting, filled with assurance. The moment you acknowledge it, something shifts. You do not simply recognize it. You feel recognized by it. This dual reflection mirror becomes a symbol for the integration of the conscious self with a deeper intelligence that has been observing you all along. In this symbolic encounter, awakening is a realization that the mirror has always held two faces, one seen and one unseen, and that contact is the moment when the unseen reveals its awareness of you. Taken together, these symbolic narratives demonstrate the essence of the message. Awakening is not an isolated event. It is the visible ripple of an invisible approach. Something moves toward you as you move toward it. Something notices you the moment you begin to notice yourself. And in that convergence lies the true meaning of contact. If the idea that You're not waking up, you're being contacted, remains only in a realm of symbolism or cosmic metaphor. Its resonance fades too quickly into abstraction. For such an idea to transform the actual lived experience, it must find roots in daily life, threading itself into the movements of ordinary days, familiar routines, and quiet choices. Integration, then, becomes not an intellectual exercise, but a shift in the way you relate to the world. It asks you to treat your life as a living dialogue rather than a sequence of isolated events. And once you begin seeing your experiences through this lens, the world, which once appeared fixed and indifferent, begins to soften and respond. One of the most profound changes arises in the way you interpret synchronicity. Instead of dismissing it as coincidence, you begin to view it as communication. When an unexpected piece of information appears exactly when you need it, or when a person crosses your path at the perfect moment to alter your trajectory, you recognize that these occurrences are not random intersections. They are part of a larger choreography in which you are both participant and observer. This recognition alters your responsiveness. Rather than controlling every aspect of your life, you become more attuned to guidance, more willing to follow the subtle pull of intuition, more ready to yield to paths you did not plan, yet somehow feel inherently aligned. This shift does not make life passive. In fact, it makes it more active because every moment becomes an invitation to presence. When you understand that contact is occurring continuously, whispering through dreams, echoed in recurring symbols, embedded in instinct, you begin to cultivate a sharper sensitivity to your own inner landscape. You pay closer attention to your emotional reactions, noticing when they sharpen unexpectedly or soften without cause. You observe your thoughts not as random mental chatter, but as currents that sometimes carry messages from deeper strata of your consciousness. The more you attune yourself to these subtle cues, the more seamless the dialogue becomes, until awareness itself feels like a form of listening. The practical implications extend into decision-making as well. When you see awakening as contact, choices stop being purely logical calculations. They become acts of resonance. You begin to choose paths that align with an inner coherence, even if they defy conventional expectations. People often describe this as following their inner truth, but in this framework, it is more accurate to say they are responding to a call that originates from a deeper intelligence. The decisions shaped by this call tend to feel effortless, even when difficult. They feel guided. The anxiety of uncertainty fades, replaced by a quiet confidence that the next step is presented at the right moment, as though the ground appears beneath your feet exactly when you are ready to place your weight upon it. Relationships shift as well. When you perceive others not as random individuals, but as mirrors, catalysts, or carriers of messages, the interpersonal world becomes layered with meaning. A conflict may no longer appear merely as a clash of personalities. It becomes a signal revealing something you need to confront within yourself. A connection may no longer seem like mere attraction or coincidence. It becomes a meeting arranged by a deeper current of fate or shared purpose. This does not mean romanticizing every encounter, but rather recognizing that each person brings something essential, an insight, a challenge, a reflection, a spark of memory. Seeing others in this way deepens empathy. It allows you to engage with people not as obstacles or supports, but as collaborators in your awakening. Even the rhythm of your days begins to change. You may find yourself drawn to moments of silence in ways you never were before. Stillness stops being idleness and becomes a form of attunement, a quiet space where the contact becomes more audible. You might notice that solutions arise naturally when you soften your mental grip, that clarity appears when you stop demanding it, that guidance flows in the moments between thoughts, those thin spaces where the conscious mind loosens just enough to let the deeper intelligence seep through. People often describe this phenomenon as getting out of their own way, but in truth, it is a mind yielding to a communication that has been waiting patiently for a chance to speak. Dreams, too, take on new significance. They cease being mere hallucinations of the sleeping brain and instead become messages encoded in symbols, offering insights that bypass the limitations of waking logic. When you approach dreams as forms of contact, you begin to treat them with respect, sometimes even with reverence. You notice recurring motifs, unusual clarity, or the haunting sense that a dream is not simply being remembered, but being returned to. This shift in perception allows dreams to become part of the dialogue, another avenue through which the deeper intelligence guides, teaches, or warns. Even challenges and suffering begin to transform. Instead of interpreting them as punishments or failures, you start to see them as catalysts, intense pulses of contact that force you to reevaluate your trajectory. Crisis becomes a type of signal, a way the deeper intelligence communicates urgency, redirection, or release. This does not negate the pain of hardship, but it adds dimension to it. You begin asking, what is this trying to tell me? Rather than, why is this happening to me? And in that shift, you reclaim agency not through control, but through interpretation, through openness, through willingness to listen. Perhaps the most significant practical implication is the way you begin to carry yourself in the world. When you recognize that contact is happening continuously, through events, through sensations, through subtle intuitions, you develop a posture of inward alignment. You make choices with greater authenticity. You speak with greater honesty. You walk through life not as someone searching for meaning, but as someone in conversation with meaning. Reality stops feeling like an indifferent stage and becomes an active partner in your evolution. You sense that every experience, whether luminous or mundane, carries a thread of guidance. And you follow these threads not because they guarantee success, but because they feel alive, resonant, true. In this way, the concept of being contacted becomes a way of living rather than a momentary insight. It invites you to step into a relationship with your own life that is participatory, intimate, and conscious. It encourages a level of attention that transforms everything it touches. And in that transformation, you begin to understand that the contact was never rare, never unpredictable, never conditional. It was always present. You simply learn how to hear it. There comes a moment, after journeying through the symbolic forest, the storm-lit seas, the tremors of sleeping giants, and the delicate architecture of everyday synchronicities, when the entire narrative begins to settle into a single, unmistakable realization. Awakening was never something you initiated. It was something you responded to. The subtle invitations, the intuitive nudges, the moment of clarity arriving like a sudden shift in the weather, all of them were signals, transmissions, forms of contact emanating from a dimension of consciousness, both intimately yours and infinitely beyond you. This recognition does not diminish your agency. Instead, it deepens it. It reveals that the path you walk has always been a co-creation, a dialogue woven between your inner world and the quiet intelligence permeating reality itself. To reach this point is to stand at a threshold. You can look back and see the texture of your life with new eyes. What once seemed fragmented now appears connected. What felt random now carries meaning. The moment of suffering that once carved deep trenches through your heart now reveal themselves as turning points, disguised teachings that redirected your trajectory towards something more authentic. The joys, the losses, the sudden inspirations, the strange coincidences, all form a constellation, a map drawn not on paper but on the canvas of your experience. And at the center of this map lies the truth that you have been contacted not once, not twice, but continuously, patiently throughout your life. To accept this is not to retreat into mysticism or to abandon rationality. It is to adopt a broader form of seeing. Rationality explains the structure of the world, but contact reveals its depth. Rationality gives you logic, but contact gives you direction. Rationality draws lines, but contact reveals the vastness of the space around them. Living with the awareness of contact is not an escape from reality. It is a more complete participation in it. It invites you to inhabit your life with fuller presence, as if the veil between the seen and unseen has thinned enough for you to sense the breath behind events, the pulse beneath circumstances, the subtle intelligence that flows through even the smallest decisions. When you embrace this perspective, you begin to understand that transformation is not an act of force, but an act of alignment. You change not by struggling to become someone else, but by responding to the call of who you already are beneath the conditioning, the fear, the habit of smallness. The contact you experience through intuition, insight, synchronicity, dreams, subtle guidance is not pushing you to become more. It is pulling you back into your original coherence. It is asking you to remember. It is reminding you of the deeper nature of your consciousness, the dimension of your being that has always existed beyond time, beyond roles, beyond the surface identity you learn to present to the world. This remembering is the essence of awakening, not waking up from sleep, but waking up from forgetfulness. Waking up to the dialogue that never ceased. Waking up to the presence that has been reaching toward you since the moment you first open your eyes to this world. When you perceive awakening in this way, the pressure to achieve enlightenment dissolves. You realize enlightenment is not a destination. It is a recognition. It is the moment you turn your head toward the signal that has been calling your name from beyond the horizon of ordinary perception. It is the moment you stop demanding answers and begin listening to the quiet intelligence that has been speaking beneath your thoughts. This recognition carries with it a powerful responsibility, not the heavy responsibility of obligation, but the liberating responsibility of participation. You are not a passive receiver of contact. You are an active collaborator. The signals you perceive guide you, but you must choose to respond. The synchronicities illuminate a path, but you must choose to walk it. The intuitive insights arise like sparks in the dark, but you must choose to kindle them. Transformation is not something done to you. It is something done with you, and that partnership between your conscious mind and the deeper intelligence contacting you is the true essence of awakening. As you step into this awareness, your daily life becomes a site of transformation. Every interaction, every setback, every moment of clarity is an invitation to deepen the dialogue. When you feel resistance, you ask what it is teaching you. When you feel lost, you turn inward not for answers but for alignment. When you experience synchronicity, you follow it not with blind faith but with quiet curiosity. And when you feel the unmistakable pull of guidance, an inner knowing, a sense of rightness, a sudden clarity, you allow yourself to trust it, not because you expect guarantees, but because you recognize the voice behind it. You recognize the presence contacting you. Ultimately, the transformational call embedded in this entire exploration is simple yet profound. Live as though the world is speaking to you, because it is. Live as though your consciousness is part of a larger field, because it is. Live as though meaning is woven into the fabric of your experience, because it is. And live as though awakening is something being offered to you continuously, because it is. If you receive this truth not as an abstract idea, but as a lived reality, you will find that your life begins to rearrange itself. People arrive at the right moments. Opportunities open in ways that defy logic. Old fears lose their grip. New forms of clarity emerge. You begin to walk with inner steadiness, a sense of companionship with something unseen yet undeniably present. In the end, the phrase "you're not waking up, you're being contacted" becomes more than a poetic metaphor. It becomes a way of inhabiting reality. It becomes a recognition that consciousness is relational, that you are never alone in your evolution, and that the world itself is participating in your unfolding. It becomes an invitation to live with your inner senses awake, your attention attuned, and your heart open to the subtle transmissions shaping your path. And if you follow this invitation, gently, consistently, without forcing anything, you may one day look back and realize that the greatest mystery was not how contact happened, but how long it took you to recognize that it had been happening all along.